Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This video was a long time coming. Today I am finally doing the makeup blending sponge comparison video that we've all been waiting for. I've been talking about it for months upon months upon months, but I needed a little bit to try out every single one of these sponges, so I apologize. Okay? So, let's see. I don't even know where to start. There's so many. All right, let's start with the one everyone knows and talks about, and that is the Original Beauty Blender. So, the Original Beauty Blender is just a normal teardrop shape, and I will have to say it is the softest when it's dry. Like, I feel like I could use this dry. And, hold on. All right, so back to what I was saying. It is the softest when it is hard. Now, this is the size of it when it's hard, when it's dry. This is the size of it when it is dry. I will hold it up to, a lot of people own MAC Fix Plus, so this is the size of it compared to a MAC Fix Plus when it is dry. Now let me wet it for you guys. I do have a bowl of water next to me because I wanted to show you guys how they all look and work when it is wet. So, I find it takes a little bit to get the Beauty Blender wet. And let it grow. Takes a little bit, but it does get there. So, y'all saw how it was next to the MAC Fix Plus before. This is it now, and this is it next to the Fix Plus now. So it definitely grew, probably about twice the size. A lot of people like the teardrop shape. It's not my favorite. I find that I don't have much to hold on to unless I'm really like holding it. So it is not my favorite shape out of the ones that we have here. But this is the original. This is $21, I think I checked last. I do not find it that great at blending in my foundation. I will use this until it dies because I spent $21 on it. But I don't think my foundation is at its greatest when I use this blending sponge. I find that it looks a little crepier than when I use some of my drugstore ones that I will talk to you about in a minute. And as you can see, it's still very bouncy, just like it was when it was dry. The great thing about the Beauty Blender is the tip. This is the slimmest tip, and it can get right into the corner of your eye with no issue. And as you can see, now that it is fully damp, it will not go back in without like forcing it back in. So that's how you know I'm not lying to you about actually getting it damp. All right, next, I'm going to talk to you about the worst one I used, and that is the Sassy and Chic one. This is the dollar store one, and let me tell you something before we get too far into it. Oh yeah, before I forget, when you wash this with like the Beauty Blender Solid or the Beauty Blender Liquid or like your favorite soap or whatever, it does get pretty clean. It does leave a couple small stains, but nothing dramatic. This Sassy and Chic one, this is it clean. Okay? So we're already off to a bad start here. I know it's hard to tell how hard I'm trying to squeeze, but it is not that soft when dry, which is fine because I have plenty of drugstore ones that are not soft when dry. Let me get it wet for you. Oh, I forgot to show you the next to that. That's okay, because I'm not recommending this one at all. Okay. Does it look like it grew any? At all? Let me show you. It did not. Okay. Also, it does not get any softer. And when you hit it, oh yeah, let me show you what. You can't really hear the Beauty Blender. This one sounds like you're beating yourself up. I do like the shape of this one. I like that it has a little like waist, that little notch to grasp onto it and not feel like you're going to drop it. But just when I was trying to use it on my face, I just felt like I was hitting myself and it was not pleasant. And as you saw from the packaging, it did not grow in size or anything. So, next one I have for you is the Maybelline Face Studio Sponge. Which, by the way, before I get any farther, I bought all of these sponges before I went cruelty-free. I took the time to use them and try to figure them out. So I'm still going to show them to you in this comparison video. So this is the Maybelline one. This is a black sponge, and this is when it's already washed. So your foundation is going to stain it. As you can see, it's not coming off on my hand or anything. It is genuinely just stained. Now this one, it does have that little notch that you can hold on to, which is nice for when you're doing that. But it does have this like curve to it, which I think is actually really nice for the under eye. And again, with the really soft, with the really narrow point, you can really get in there. But I do think that because of this curve, it's a little flimsier when trying to work in that corner. So I do want you to be careful of that. But like I said, I do think that curve is nice for this area. And it's definitely nice when you're trying to do like cream blush or cream highlight. Not so much cream bronze, just cream like contour or anything. So next to the MAC Prep and Prime. Now let's get it wet. This one gets pretty big. I wish I had two of all of these so you could see like the size comparison. But I was not spending another $21 on another beauty blender. So this is how big it gets. And this is how big it is compared to the MAC Fix Plus now. And you don't really hear it, just like you don't really hear the original Beauty Blender. Now, like I said, I really like that notch, and I feel like when you press it onto your face, it feels really nice. And it washes well with any type of tools you want to wash it with, whether it's the Beauty Blender Solid or the Beauty Blender Liquid or what have you. It will not fit in the packaging unless you force it in after it is wet. I like showing you guys that. That way if you can't see the comparison with the MAC Fix Plus, you can see the comparison with the packaging. So next is Real Techniques. You guys know this was a holy grail favorite for years. I really like the shape of it. I wish it had a waist to hold on to, but it doesn't. It does kind of have like that teardrop effect, but it does have like a cut. Now, I really like this for when putting on foundation. And then I like to flip it over. Actually, I don't even flip it over. I just go right in. So you can flip it over or you can go right in. I tend to use this side for everything. This is it clean after it's been cleaned. As you can see, Beauty Blender Solid, Liquid, or favorite soap of your choice works really well in cleaning this. I really want you to pay attention to the size on this one because I do not have the original packaging of this one. So that's where it is now. And that's where it is when it gets big, when it gets damp. So again, I really like this side for when pressing in my foundation. You can't really hear this one like you could with the Sassy and Chic one. It sounds more Beauty Blender-esque, and it's also really soft. I don't think I showed you that with the Maybelline one, so hold on. Really, really squishy, soft, what have you. All right, next we have the Ulta Beauty Sponge. This is the Super Blender. This looks exactly like the Sassy and Chic one does. A lot of like the drugstore ones look like this with the little notch, and I'm okay with that. Now, this one is another one that's a little tough to go down when it's dry. This is also when it is clean, so this stains a little bit more than the Real Techniques one does, and probably about the same as the Maybelline one does. So let me show you next to the MAC Fix Plus. And now let's wet it. This one, what's the word I'm looking for? When you get it damp, when you squeeze the sponge when getting it damp, like the Real Techniques one, it comes up really fast. This one takes a little bit longer to get back to as big as it was, to as big as it gets. So this is it once it's damp, and this is it next to the MAC Fix Plus, and trying to get it into the packaging. Does not work, even when you try to force it. It just kind of, it gets fat. And this one, you can hear it, but it's not as loud as the Sassy and Chic one. Let me actually pull that one out so when we're comparing sounds, and I want you to hear. So this is the Sassy and Chic. And this is the Ulta. Okay, so actually they sound kind of similar, but this one feels like I'm punching myself. This one does not. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but like it's definitely a lot bouncier now than it was before we got it wet. Still not my favorite, but definitely would do in a pinch. I want to say this one was about $8. This one was $6, and I want to say the Maybelline was like $9. So far Maybelline is trudging on the most expensive. The next one I have is the LA Colors Makeup Blending Sponge. Now this one's latex free. I don't know if the other ones are. This one looks similar to the last one, but it does have this little arch. So it's like a mixture of this and the Real Techniques one. Once again, this is it clean, so it does stain. And it's not terribly bouncy when it's dry. I forgot to compare it. Ah! Oh well. You guys kind of saw how big it was. And I still got the original packaging. So this is how big it gets. So it now goes up above the halfway point where I believe if it wasn't damp, it wouldn't. It does make a little bit of noise. Not as bad as the Sassy and Chic. And let's try getting it in the packaging. It does not work unless you really like get it in there. But I try not to force my sponges. Now, I really like this shape. This is my favorite shape out of all of them. It has the waist that you can hold on to for when you're blending out your foundation. But, I'm like so nervous putting it on my face. It has that nice, yes, the tip's a little bit fatter, but it has that flat side, which I really like for the under eyes, like I pointed out with the Real Techniques. So, this one is $3. That's not that bad if you can find it, because I've only found it at one store. So let's just keep that in mind. The next one is the Moda one. I don't know the actual name of it. So the Moda blending sponge. This one has my least favorite shape. Because not only does it have like the teardrop shape where it doesn't have a waist, but it has a flat bottom. I don't really like that. Hold on, I got something on my nail. Oh, okay. That wasn't something. That was the top coat. Anyway, so I really am not a big fan of the flatness. Now, it's not terribly bouncy, but it's not too hard. And this is the current size next to the MAC Fix Plus. It's way below that watermark. Now, when you get this one damp, it slowly builds up. It's not like some of the other ones where it builds up fast. It's much like the Ulta Beauty one where it slowly builds. All right. Now, this is the size of it now. As you can see, it's definitely significantly grown. And putting it up next to the MAC Fix Plus, it's now like meeting that waterline. Now, this has the really nice pointed edge, like it's actually thinner than the Beauty Blender, but it's a little thicker than the Maybelline. So you can get in there really nice to get around the corners of your eyes for your concealer. But this flat side, you can't get all that close at all when you're putting on your foundation. I don't know about you, but I like that extra coverage of the foundation under my eyes. And that's the sound of the Moda compared to the sound of the Sassy and Chic. So still a little loud. Actually, the Moda one's louder, but it's softer. So I think it's louder because of the flatness, unfortunately. Oh, sorry guys, my back's killing me. And as you can see, the bounciness is now a lot bouncier than it was before. And it does not even come close to fitting in the original packaging. Unless you really force it. But like I said, don't like to force. This actually came with the Moda Kabuki brush too. In case you're wondering what the other slot was. I've never actually seen it sold separately. So, there's that. Now I have the Walmart brand. This looks exactly the same as the original Beauty Blender in every shape and form. It's that teardrop shape. It has that nice, point. There we go. It has that nice point. This is it clean. It does stain quite a bit actually. And with it dry, it's a little bit below that waterline. Let's get it wet. This one gets really big, fair warning. Boom. Now look at it now compared to the MAC. It goes well above the waterline. And I'll even show it to you compared to the Beauty Blender. So this one's the Beauty Blender, this one's the Equate. Or Walmart. So it's quite loud. And it does not feel good against the face. I still recommend this over the Sassy and Chic one, because this one literally just hurts. But this one's still not quite a favorite. It's not really all that bouncy and squishy or what have you. and I would not recommend this one. Let's get into one that's a completely different shape altogether, and that is the EcoTools Total Perfecting Blender. This one used to be my least favorite, and then I got the Sassy and Chic one. So, this one, this is the shape of this one. So, it looks like it could be that teardrop, but they literally cut off both sides. This side goes a little lower, which I like this side for the face or the butt for the face. And then this side is like a little bit shorter, and I think that one's really good for getting right under the eye. Now, as you can see, it's not that squishy. And right next to the MAC, it goes just about neck and neck with the waterline, if not a little above. Now, when we get it wet, it gets pretty big. I love the color of this one, by the way. This is my favorite color out of all of them. And now it's well above the waterline. Sound. You can't really hear it. And it's definitely a lot squishier. And it doesn't feel like... Why did I not like this one? I don't know. Oh, I think I remember. I don't think it made my foundation look all that great, if I remember correctly. But for squishiness, size, and all of that, it does great. But it did not make my foundation look all that great when I was using it. I will use all of these with the exception of the Sassy and Chic one till they die, because, you know, I spent my money on them, but would not recommend this one. And as you can see, I cannot get it into the packaging unless I shrink it down and like force it in. But, so you know. All right, the next one I have is the e.l.f. blending sponge. Once again, it's got the waist, which I like. It's got the butt and the point. This is it washed. It's not that squishy when dry. Next to the waterline, it's below. Now we get it wet. I just realized how funny this must sound on camera when I'm wetting them. Anyway, so it grew quite a bit from the original size. It goes above the waterline now. This is the way it sounds. So pretty on par with the good ones. And this one's actually not that bad when blending in your foundation. If you are on a budget, this one's really good. If I remember correctly, it's like $4, $5, $6, maybe anywhere between $3 to $6. I can't remember the exact price, but it's really not that bad. This is it washed. It does not stain as badly as some of them do, like the Maybelline one. And it's e.l.f. Like, e.l.f. is the quintessential. So, really, really liked the e.l.f. one. Next, we have L'Oreal. L'Oreal is the same shape as the e.l.f. with the waist. The e.l.f. one can still fit in its packaging, by the way, but if you look at the packaging's quite wide. So, anyway, this is the L'Oreal one, same shape, same waist. This one cleans the best. There is literally no stains on it. None. And it does have the narrowest point out of all the drugstore ones with this shape. Next to the MAC Fix Plus, it goes just under that waterline, and it's actually pretty squishy. So we get it wet. This is everyone's favorite of the drugstore dupes. Generally this one, the flower one, and the Morphe, and the Real Techniques. So now, as you can see, it got bigger. It's even more bouncy. Next to the MAC Fix Plus, it now goes above the waterline. and it does not fit in its packaging. This is the sound, which sounds pretty on par with the Beauty Blender. So, next we have, and this made my foundation look fantastic. Next we got Morphe. This one does stain. This has been washed. As you can see, the butt's pretty clean, but then like right here's not, and then like right there's not, but right there is. This one's red. You can't tell it's red, but it's red. It's got that nice waist, the nice hourglass, and again, it's got a point, which is really good for that. It's pretty hard when not wet. Next to the MAC, it's just below that waterline. When we get it wet is when the magic happens. So it really grows. It really gets bouncy. Next to the MAC, it's now pretty much well above the waterline. And it's on par with the sound of the Beauty Blender, the L'Oreal, the Real Techniques, the Maybelline, all the good ones. Now comes another good one. This is the Flower Beauty one. Now this one's already somewhat wet because I did use this one today, but it has dried and shrank a little bit. This one's super bouncy when dry. When you get it, I'm not going to compare it to the MAC one because I know it's not at full shortness. I'm dropping my towel. But when it is fully wet, it does go very well above that waterline. It's really, ooh, I squeezed out some water. Thought I did that already. All right. It's really squishy. Like really squishy. Barely makes a sound. And the sound you do hear is probably because I haven't washed it. This is not washed. When it is washed, it is purple. But it does fade very fast and it does stain very easily. But this one is my favorite. It's also probably the second most expensive. First being the Beauty Blender. This one I want to say is around $12. I know, that hurt. But I want to say this is the best out of all the other ones. Out of all the ones here, this is the best, including the Beauty Blender. I am not a huge fan of the Beauty Blender. This is my favorite. So if I had to pick my top 4, it'd be Flower Beauty, L'Oreal, Morphe, and Real Techniques. Now the best part is 3 out of these 4 are cruelty-free. L'Oreal is not cruelty-free, but like I said, I bought all these sponges before I went cruelty-free, and I took the time to learn these sponges when I was doing the testing, so I wanted to include them anyway. And then that way, if you're not cruelty-free, you know these are options as well. But yeah, that's all of the sponges, and that's all of them compared to each other. You can make your best choice, your decision based off of my recommendations, but I wanted to show you the squishiness and everything compared to every one that I have, so you guys can make your own decision as well. What do you guys think? What do you think your favorite sponge is? Leave a comment down below, tell me what your favorite sponge is. Please hit that thumbs up if you liked this video, and hit the subscribe if you want to see more, and hit that notification bell, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.